his name up in lights. Don Miller is live every Thursday night. He's bold, he's real, no filters, no shade. When hits the mic, the truth gets laid. Don's in the building, his swag so tight. Check your feelings, he's exposing all the lies. Every Thursday at 8, his voice takes the stage. The man's got soul like a record with age.
Shout out to Phil, the podcast doctor.
Hey.
Hey, man, thank you so much, Phil. It's Thursday, the Don Miller Show, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Do me a favor, follow us. I got to say this, Phil, make me say this every week. Follow us on all platforms and subscribe and like at the YouTube channel. It's Thursday night, the Don Miller Show. Now, this ain't for the faint of heart, so if you in your feelings or feeling some kind of way, something else on to watch tonight. Because I'm telling you right now, this is a very sensitive topic to me, and it is actually feel non-football as much as it may be football to others.
Okay.
Thank you so much again. You can subscribe and like. Thanks for joining us. I got a good guest tonight. Man, y'all know it's very important because I subscribe to this thing called black excellence that we hear these Negroes talking about but don't live about, right? I really believe that there are people out there doing great work that don't get recognized for the work they do. And I want to shout out my girl, Morgan Parrish from Fox 35 in Orlando, who introduced me to this young lady who is joining us. She is a sports anchor, sports reporter. She's done it all. She is a graduate of 2 really good-ass schools and Appalachian State. And, of course, the best journalism school in America at Syracuse University. I ain't reading notes. I remember all this about it before I ever talked to her. We welcome to the show Fox 35 Orlando sports anchor, Jessica Ely. Hey!
Thank
Jess,
you.
that was good, wasn't it?
It's Appalachian State, not Appalachian.
There we go. See what I mean? Black people. You try to shout a black person out, they have to correct you all the time. They're still over there, up in there, back up in there. Okay? Yeah. It's still 30,000 miles from anywhere. But congratulations on your work you have, the achievements you have. You are doing a great job over at Fox 35. Shout out to my cousin, John Brown. John's my main man. He's a great friend of mine. Listen, I really want to have this conversation, and it would be to have a woman and a black woman join me in this conversation is the best thing that could possibly happen tonight, Phil.
Of course. Absolutely.
A black woman in sports, and a real educated black woman, kind of southern black woman. I hear she got some friends over there in the Imperial, some relatives in the Imperial Polk County. That's what I heard.
My grandfather was from Florida. My family's from Florida, so I have southern roots.
Okay, the Imperial Polk County. That's Winter Haven up there, Bartow, and all up down in there.
Bartow, that's where my family's from, Bartow.
Okay, all right. Again, thank you so much for joining us. I really want to get to this conversation. Again, subscribe and like. So I don't do sports talk anymore. I used to, back in the day, I was on a sports radio talk show, and it became so boring to me because I really don't love it anymore. I spent 20-plus years in sports working with athletes, up close and personal. I don't even watch sports anymore. Season tickets for the Magic for the last 30 years, went 2 years ago. And it is because of what it has become from where I sit. Now, to people who love the game, they love the game. But once you've been in the inner workings and you see how it works, it kind of oftentimes leaves a bad taste in your mouth. So I'm watching this Shedeur Sanders, the son of Deion Sanders, probably one of the greatest, at that position, may be the greatest that ever played in the NFL. And his son, both of his sons, well, Shedeur in particularly, started out, he was with his dad when Deion took over at Jackson State and transferred to Colorado with him. And did well at Colorado. I think he was a pretty good quarterback. Based on what he had to work with, I think he did extremely well. And along comes the NFL draft. And all of the work I think he did to get to this point fell apart in the draft. Him dropping from a possible early first rounder, to the 5th round. Many people were looking at this, wondering if there was racism. You know, black people, we run the racism. Man, them crackers, we ran right over there to the cracker hole. And then we started saying collusion and all of these things. Yet the young players that I've known to get drafted, and I've known many of them, they all had to go through certain steps. Interview process. Of course, people are familiar with the combine. And when I was working in sports, I'll never forget a guy I worked with his entire career. We prepped for 5 days. I hope he's listening. Shout out to my man, White Chocolate Jason Williams.
Oh, I love him.
We prepped for days to go to these team meetings. This is NBA, but it's the same type of scenario. It's a job interview. Hello. And we prepped for days before we went in. And I'm watching this and I'm saying to myself, I think the kid has talent. Yeah, he definitely has talent. But to fall from the first round to the 5th round, Jessica, you've been covering sports a long time. What did you see here?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Colorado actually played UCF this season. So they were here in town, and there was a lot of hype around that game. Like, it was on Fox, the football show for Fox on Saturday. They hyped it up. There's a lot of hype around Dion, around Shedeur, around just that entire team. And I think people, I hate to say it's racism, but like it's the U.S. Like, things are black and white here. And I think as we've seen a lot in like different types of sports stories, even with Angel Reese and what's her name, Caitlin Clark. Yeah, like that was a black and white thing. It's like you have 2 players. They're not even the same type of player, but they're being compared because Angel Reese did the whole, you can't see me, and it became like a whole race issue. And I think that's the same issue, unfortunately, with this situation with Shedeur in Colorado and Deion Sanders. Like, people just don't want to see them be great. And it was actually shocking to see people celebrate him fall from the 1st round to not getting picked to the 3rd day. It was shocking to me to see just the hate and vitriol for this kid, literally a kid that's trying to follow his dreams that people don't personally know, and people are happy to see him kind of fall from grace like that.
You know what? And it's interesting you say that because I watched the draft with maybe 1 or 2 retired NFL players. I talked to several. And it's interesting what you see when people have microphones in front of them and when it's just the guys sitting around smoking a cigar. And most of the guys that I've talked to, probably 4 out of 5 NFL retired, a couple of them big time, live in my area. They weren't big on him, and they didn't think he was a 1st round pick. And it's interesting, I think fans are different than people who've been in the trenches and they see the game differently. But one guy who spent 15, 16 years in the league felt that because of Dion played at the level in which he played, that he should have explained to his son how this league works. Now, we know who owns the league. Let's be clear, right? So, but if you know this and you've seen people who've come before you and how they've messed careers up by engaging a certain way, then don't you think, or maybe that Dion should have had as a parent, look, I get it. It ain't right, but sometimes you got to do things differently. It's a job interview. I don't think his dad even had that conversation with him based on me talking to some people. You saw some of the text messages, Phil, right? Talking to some NFL executives who were shocked that people thought he really was going to go that high. So do you think that the Dion is a hype machine, probably the greatest hype machine of all time? You look at the Colorado team, it was like they were average at best, yet they were the hottest thing going. Like you say, they came to Orlando, and it was rah, rah, rah. And do you think that based on that push, and the kid, again, he had a great year. Do you think based on that push, the common fan kind of saw something that the executives and the scouts didn't see?
I don't think so, because when you look at like the mock drafts, those are scouts that are looking at that. That's not like just a regular fan that's sitting on the couch. Like these are people who are evaluating NFL talent or evaluating these players in college. So if he is going into the draft thinking, oh, I'm going to go to number 21 to the Pittsburgh Steelers, and then you
Absolutely.
fall from day 1 to day 3, I just think that's shocking. There's 5 other quarterbacks that went before him. Do you think there's 5 better quarterbacks than him? I mean, I don't know. I never played
No,
football.
I
obviously.
definitely don't think so. I
Yeah.
don't think so. But I also know that the Pittsburgh Steelers have the greatest black football coach of all time.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. He's a
Yeah.
Hall of Fame coach for sure. That is a family business. The Rooneys have owned that franchise forever. They are probably one of the most fair families, owners in the history of the league. There is a rule called the Rooney Rule because of that family and that organization, a rule that states you have to interview a black person when the job comes open, correct? So if they didn't take him, and he visited, from what I understand, and the black coach who has taken in some troubled players, when they passed on him, that's when I said, whoa, what's going on?
I agree. Like you have good points. I also was just like reading just different articles and them saying that the articles saying that there weren't real like this wasn't a great draft class for quarterbacks. Like the teams that needed a quarterback was Tennessee, New Orleans, and New York.
Yeah.
And we've seen like the reports that came out with how he interviewed with New York. Like it was a horrible interview,
Right.
allegedly, like reportedly. But I just think there's so much hype surrounding Dion with even Travis Hunter. There was a lot of hype surrounding him. Obviously, he's a Heisman winner. He's heading to Jacksonville, but there's just a lot of hype surrounding the team, Dion's son, Travis Hunter, just everything surrounding him. And I think it was almost like, I don't know if the NFL colluded. I don't think it was like that big of a deal, but there was definitely everyday people who wanted to see Shedeur kind of
Do well.
What-
You know,
do well, but they also wanted to not see him do well. I was with someone on Friday. I was at work and they were like, oh, Shadeur's not even going on Friday. He wasn't picked in the 2nd or 3rd round. And I was like, what's so funny about that? Like, he's a kid just trying to live out his dreams. I personally don't think everything is like race related. I don't. But I think people are, for some reason, triggered by Deion Sanders. I grew up watching him on TV with his reality TV show with his
absolutely,
family.
right.
Yeah, so I like him. I like his family, and I want to see them succeed. But there's just different reports coming out about the interview process, and just Shedeur wasn't taking the interview process seriously or the workout seriously. So it's like you don't really know what was
Well,
happening behind the
I
scenes
can tell
because-
you, I talked to an assistant GM, and when I heard that, forget the whole entourage thing, because a lot of young men document the draft process. That's fine. Show up with some cameras, but you can't go in the room. But when I heard that he did one interview while on FaceTime, the entire interview.
I heard that too.
And,
I heard that.
and this came from a very good source. I said, this is a problem for me because I get it. You want to have your own, you want to stay in tune with who you are, okay? My concern as a black dad, you got one damn job, sir, to create an environment conducive to your child getting to the highest level, even if you have to teach him, as I taught my black son, how to maneuver in difficult spaces. And when I hear from these people how this kid moved in these spaces, knowing now that you're not bigger than the league,
Yeah.
I think that I put this squarely on Deion Sanders, who, again, Deion's all about hype, right? And I want black people, y'all got to cut this nonsense out, black folk. I'm so ashamed of some of you Negroes. Excuse me, ma'am, I said that. And I'll tell you why. They were talking about the prank phone call. There was a prank call made to Shedeur, and they were calling it racist. But nobody, no, hold on. Why? Nobody, hold on.
Your phone's playing.
I know. Nobody talked about, nobody, that there were 5 other players got prank phone calls. Have you heard this story?
I've seen people tweet about it, but I have not.
Okay.
Everything's been on Shedeur. his
Cal
prank call
McCord,
story.
Tyler Warren, Mason Graham, and Abdul Carter all got pranked by these same people, right? But it became racist when they said Shedeur got a prank phone call while he sat in the mansion with a bunch of rappers and a 5-pound gold necklace. This is very important to me as a black guy, because a lot of you, some of my white friends are like, Don, I want to say something, but don't worry about it. I said it right on the Don Miller Show. Black folk continue to have conversations about black excellence. What the hell is black excellence? For real. Let me tell you so black excellence. I'm looking at a young lady that's black excellence. You've done everything right to get to this point. Yes or no?
Yes.
I can imagine there were times when you laid in your dorm room and cried at night because it wasn't easy. Correct?
Yes.
Absolutely, right? Black excellence is about achievement, not about hype, not about money. It's about achievement, about conquering, going against the difficult times and winning. Let me talk about black excellence, may I, for a moment? Let me ask you this. You've been in sports a long time, young lady. Phil, you a football fan?
Yeah.
My man over there, he's a football fan. Who was the first NFL pick in the modern time, first pick in the history of the NFL modern times, drafted number 1, that was a 0-rated high school player?
There hasn't been.
Cam Ward.
Oh, shoot.
Oh yeah, duh. Miami quarterback.
He was not even
I
recruited.
know there's no hype around him either.
And guess what? That's black excellence, right?
Yeah.
He goes to Incarnate Word in San Antonio and achieves. Then he goes to Washington State, graduates early and achieves, right? Then he transferred while working on his master's at the University of Miami, and he achieves. And he graduates, right? He graduated early from the first school. But we're focused on a guy who hasn't committed to understanding how the game is played. We should be clapping and standing and cheering for Cam Ward, yet this other thing has become a distraction. Let me ask you a question again. Who is the last first-round black pick that was graduating while working on the Masters? That pick number 1. None.
Is it Cam Ward?
Cam Ward. So when I'm looking at this achievements by this non-rated high school talent, right, who became the first pick, his mom and dad were educators, just a basic good kid, and I'm not saying Shedeur is a bad kid. I'm saying so often we attach ourselves to a struggle that ain't ours.
Yeah.
Shedeur's rich as cream. This whole who he is, this persona, is fake as hell. And if his daddy wasn't Dion, they'd be calling him fake. Right? Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
He's rich. He's got Lil Wayne at his party. He's hanging out with all these rappers, and I get it, man. But I'm a little bit, Jesus. We're going to come back to that. I'm a little bit perturbed. I'm moved by the fact that we're not celebrating a young black man who did everything right. Go ahead, please.
I agree. I definitely agree. Like even on draft night, before Shedeur, like the biggest story was Travis Hunter, Jacksonville taking him. Like there was just like no talk around Cam Ward, but Cam Ward, yeah, Cam Ward's a great story. He was the first, the top pick in this year's draft. Like you said, he almost came from nothing almost, and started at the small school in Texas, went to Washington State, was a Heisman finalist this year at Miami. Like he's done a great job, and I think people aren't talking about him enough. And people, you have a great point. People are attaching themselves to Shedeur and acting like he's like down and out, and he's not. He's rich. He grew up privileged, and will live a lifestyle many of us will never live.
But you know what's funny, Jess? We most people like him, we would be saying something different about, right? Yeah. You remember the rich kid at school who wanted to be like he wasn't rich, but we know your ass was rich, come take us shopping? There was always one of them, right? I had one. He was from some country, and he always wanted to be, hey, man, no, come on, Muhammad, take us to the mall, okay? And, and this is why we hung out with Muhammad. But we let him, and one time he slipped up and dropped the N-word. He found out the real situation. But, but the fact I make here is this. We should be celebrating Cam Ward. We should, Travis Hunter, we should be celebrating Travis Hunter, who's a great story. Great story.
He got a lot of flack, too, for his girlfriend, which I didn't like.
I didn't like that either because
people were making fun of his looks, they were making fun of him, period. I was like, you don't really know them behind closed doors. Like, maybe she really loves him. She's a young girl.
Cut it out,
I don't know how old she is, but that's
just cut it out.
That's not fair.
When I heard, speaking of Travis Hunter, when I heard his girlfriend, he used to drive her to the club and wait in the car for him.
Oh, he's a cuck?
No, he's a good kid, right? He's a good
He
kid
sounds like
who
a nice young man.
He comes from an actual struggle life.
Yeah.
And his dad's been gone most of his life, in and out of the joint, right? And for him to achieve it, everybody I know in Jacksonville who's already met him is like, wow, this kid's amazing. He's humble. And even with his NIL money, he shared that with his teammates. The point I made...
Not a lot of kids would do that.
Huh?
I said not a lot of kids would do that, share their NIL money.
I'm just saying, this is not an indictment of Deion's bad parenting. But sorry about that. Okay, you cut that out later. But
we live. I can't.
I know. But as a dad, I look at other dads, right? And because I look at other dads because I actually wanted to be a good dad. I wanted to be the best dad that I could be. So I was watching other dads, right? And I saw a lot of flaw-ass black dads, but I saw some good ones, right? And I just kind of believe that based on the lifestyle that young man came from, some of these distractions were self-inflicted. Would you concur?
I agree.
Yeah.
He almost can't help it though if that's what he's used to and that's what he grew up with.
Yeah. And somebody just sent me a message. I want to get on the record and say, yeah, I had a problem with Deion. I want to ask you about this because people want to know why I got a problem with Deion. I didn't have a problem with Deion. My problem with Deion started when you took your black ass to Jackson, Mississippi, and told them black folk that the Lord sent you, and amped everybody up and got the major networks to put HBCU football on major networks on Saturday. It was the greatest thing that I have seen. I went in a boardroom in my day job and raised my hand and said to the CEO of a big-ass company, you should have a division for black colleges, when he had never heard of HBCUs. And now that company has a division geared toward doing development with HBCUs, right? You got to have some skin in the game. So when Deion went to Jackson State and told them people that the Lord sent him. See, I got a problem, what I call the field, the Jesus curveball, right? Because you can hit black people with the Jesus curveball, they forget anything. Jesus? You know Jesus? And when Deion went down there, and the networks was like, okay, we're going to put Jackson State on, but also we're going to put these schools on. We're going to put Hampton on, okay? Right? Deion did that.
I have to say something about that because, like we were talking before I got on this podcast with you, I started my career in Greenville, Mississippi. So I covered Mississippi Valley State, Alcorn, Jackson
Valley State.
All those SWAC schools. So I was excited when I saw Deion was at Jackson State. I was like, wow, they're finally getting this recognition, or they're going to, get some screen time nationally, which they never get. So then when he went to Colorado, I was actually like really upset. And I remember like getting in like kind of several arguments with people. They're like, why are you upset? He's trying to bring black excellence to Colorado. I was like, Colorado? Like, that's such a random place. Like, to me, I thought, just from my viewpoint, I don't know him personally, but I thought he was trying to elevate HBCUs and the culture and like the athletes who go to those schools. It felt like there was starting to become like a shift from these top-rated players choosing like, hey, maybe I want to go to Jackson State, or I want to go to FAMU, or Bethune. I'm not saying Bethune-Cookman, but just like different HBCUs. And I was actually like super disappointed when he kind of packed it up and was like, I'm heading to Colorado, because to me that was like really random.
Okay,
and I was actually like really upset about it.
And let me just say this, right? So I want to hit that real quick because I don't like the dude, right? And I don't like him because I too was amped up when he went to Jackson State, because I had been in a boardroom years earlier and raised my hand, and I'm the only black guy in this room, said, y'all need to do HBCUs and build housing for HBCUs. And everybody was like, Don, can you tell us what that is? Right? and it became a real conversation in a corporate building, right? A corporate environment. And it moved forward. And the first deal was Howard University, right? Shout out to my main man who did that, John Pacern over at Corvius. Thank you, John, for believing in that situation. And so let me just say this real quick. So Deion goes to Jackson State. I'm amped up. I talked to a friend of my family, Miss Willie Mae. She passed away, man. Miss Willie Mae. I called Miss Willie Mae. She lives in Kosciuszko, Mississippi. You ever heard of that?
Yes.
Okay. Miss Willie Mae lived in Kosciuszko, and she went to Jackson State. And she was so excited about Deion. She said the Lord sent Deion, and Deion couldn't coach in any other place because he didn't have a degree. So there's this little black school in Mississippi that gave him a degree.
Yeah.
Okay? They gave this guy a degree in like 4 months, 5 months, right? I know 2 people who played with him. It should have taken longer, but whatever. That's fine. So Deion goes to Mississippi, goes to Jackson State, got some great attention. Several big shoe companies were interested in signing deals with the entire SWAC and the MEAC, okay? Yeah. This is unheard of, right? Based on Shedeur Sanders being there. The network had one national game every year, and that was the game. Just absolutely, right? Mm-hmm. So I was psyched because these young kids who go to these schools, they should get recognition too.
Yeah.
And you pump us up, you amp us up, and then you go to a PWC that's horrible with 1 win.
Yeah.
Horrible. You go to Colorado, 1 win, right? And you take everybody that's good. Sure, I get it. But that seems selfish to me, right?
I agree.
And so I'm looking at this, and he wins a few games at Colorado. And black people, I know, man, black people, we the only people stand on the sideline just we hoping that we going to get one more. Can we have one? I know one's coming down the road one day. And every time it's a black one, that's the one. And we always get let down, right?
Yeah.
And I'm concerned that if we don't, I saw good kids go to black colleges during Deion's reign at Jackson State. I saw 3 good kids. Like, I saw a kid getting recruited by big schools decide to go to HBCUs. 3 kids. Yeah. And one kid, mama called me. I was like, if he wants to go, that's fine, right? That could have been a great shift. Yeah. Because if you know the history of HBCUs, that's where the black pros came
like
from.
The Walter Payton.
Yeah. Walter Payton, Jackson State. And Coach Robinson at Grambling, he was turning them out every year. Yeah. Jerry Rice, Valley State. In Itabena, Mississippi. You ain't never heard of Itabena. Right? Yeah. So I think that was my first disappointment in the whole thing. And then when I heard, and I'm not beating up Deion, but I got to get this off my chest. Thank you for joining me, Jess. I just got to get this off my damn chest because I'm a black man from the south side of Chicago who don't know his daddy, right? So I say things that a lot of people ain't going to say. When I saw Deion give an amazing speech, I started to come back to him. He at Colorado. He gives this amazing speech about young black men and preparing them for life, and that's what his job is, and the Lord has put him in this position, and yada, yada, yada. And then I see every dirty drill rapper I know on the sideline. Why the hell is the drill rappers on the sideline? Gunner 2, Lil Gunner, Machine Gunner. I'm like, whoa, wasn't you talking about preparing young black men for the future? Why is every rapper on the sideline, right? I'm sorry, go ahead. Please save me from myself. But what were your thoughts when you heard that speech and saw what you saw?
I felt the same way. So I think that's kind of why I'm back on the Deion side, because I was like, you know what? He's trying to, I just saw a comment, someone said, make a chess move. I agree. He's trying to maneuver, but not even just about Dion. I have to say this about like all HBCUs and coaching.
Right.
I've
Right.
noticed like a trend where these former NFL players are going to HBCUs, and it's like I actually don't like that either because it's like, do you think you can just go there because they're at HBCU? Because would you do this with the PWI? Like
Right.
that even happened at Bethune Cookman down here in Florida.
Ed Reed.
Yeah,
Ed came down
Reed.
there
That
and was
was
wondering why they ain't had no grass. Because they ain't got no money,
chaotic.
Ed.
Yeah, no money. It was chaotic. He came
You
like,
covered
right
that.
after
Didn't
he
you
had
cover
to-
that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, yeah.
I covered it.
I remember.
It was chaotic. It was chaotic, and I didn't understand. I know he went to Miami. He's like a Miami player, but it's like you have to understand. BCU is not Miami. BCU is not Florida. BCU
No.
isn't even UCF.
No.
They don't have the same resources.
Right.
They don't have the same money. Like you have to go in there knowing like what it is. And I didn't like how he bashed the university on Twitter, and people were like,
Yes.
"Well, they need to get their stuff together." But it's
He
like
was
this
wrong.
is like the state of HBCUs because of funding. Like people just don't understand. I didn't go to HBCU. I went to App State and I went to Syracuse, but my career has taken me all throughout the South. I've covered lots of HBCUs at this point. I went to school in North Carolina, so we went to parties and stuff at different schools, North Carolina, A&T, Shaw, like all those schools. And there's just like a certain pride that these alum have in their school, and I don't like it that people are making like disparaging remarks about these universities or these schools that have like just great history. And I personally don't like that former NFL players are just going to HBCUs and like, hey, I can get a job here because this is easy. That's what it seems like to me. And it's not to me. It's not just Dion. It's like an overall problem in my opinion.
And Jessica, you're right. And I'll give you an example. Eddie George went to Tennessee State, and he pimped them out. Now he's over at Bowling Green.
Bowling Green, yeah.
He pimped them out quick.
Yeah.
Okay, but a lot of these guys ain't gonna get a first look. So maybe that's why they do it. But my concern is I don't like the look because when does the guy go? First of all, with Ed Reed, Ed, you rich. Go over there and make a difference, right?
Yeah.
The fact is, Ed, you ain't never been on you never seen a campus like this. They're all over the country, especially South. Most of the HBCU campuses look just like this.
Exactly like
When
that.
you start talking about Claflin College and Tougaloo and Talladega, am I right?
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah, this is
All
how they
those
look.
schools.
Bishop College and some of these places shouldn't even be open.
Mississippi Valley looks like that too. Valley.
Absolutely. So
Yeah.
so when I see these guys who jump on these jobs
Yeah.
and then abandon them, like the first time an assistant coaching job at a PWI opens up, then I call BS anyway.
Yeah.
My
I
concern
agree.
is that how do we fix this problem, and what's going to happen now? Because I think there's enough football talent to go around.
I agree.
There's enough players to go around. Now, I could tell you the portal is becoming a problem because why am I going to take a kid out of Edgewater High School when I can get a kid that can play 2 years, okay, at UCF, and he can come right in and be ready? So the whole portal thing is a problem. But when I get back to the fact that if we allow people who look like us to continue to pimp us, which is what I think Dion did. Let's be clear. I think Dion pimped black folk. I think he pimped us out. He played us, and we so caught up in gotta have one that we don't even realize he played us. And I think when you go with the Jesus curveball and start telling these, especially these black folk, that Jesus sent you, okay?
Especially in the South.
In the South, oh, you tell somebody Jesus sent you in the South, are you, what? That man, I'm telling you, that old lady that I just mentioned, she don't know nothing about football, right? But she told me, man, the Lord sent Dion to my alma mater. I'm like, ma'am, no, they did. The Lord did. I ain't say it to her, Miss Willie Mae. She said, baby, the Lord sent that man down here. And that man rich, he ain't got to come. You know, you white, you old and black, you rich. That man rich. He ain't got to come down here. I was happy. I was excited. And I was just really thrown off by how that ended. And if you look, most of those big games that were nationally televised, when those contracts ended, nobody was on national TV this year. Maybe 2 teams.
Yeah.
You know, and that's on us. That's on us as a community. But we have to stop applauding hype. and ridiculousness. We'll say it among each other, but as soon as somebody who don't look like us around, we'll be like, yeah, it's Black Power. I ain't saying Black Power. I want to be able to see guys like Cam Ward and Travis Hunter. I want to stand and cheer for guys who just want to kind of learn the craft, be the best they can be, and do right by their communities.
I agree. You have really great points. You're actually the first person who's agreed with me when it comes to like the whole Dion leaving JSU to go to Colorado. So that's kind of refreshing.
Cause you was down there, you saw it.
I was fighting with myself. I was like, y'all didn't live in Mississippi. Like, y'all don't understand.
Look, living in Mississippi is a whole different situation.
It is.
I promise.
It changed my perspective of like the entire country. Like when I lived down there, I only lived down there for 9 months, but it changed the way I view the country and just how I view like a lot of things.
You know, and it's amazing because I have a friend who worked in Mississippi. She worked in Gulfport on that end, right?
Okay.
And in media, and she's from an affluent family. She bougie, and she was like, I ain't never seen people. I didn't know people live like this here in this country.
Yeah, there's like extreme poverty.
Yes, yeah.
Especially I had never seen that before. My grandma, rest in peace, she just passed away a few years ago, but she was from Arkansas, Warren, Arkansas. It's like an hour west of like the Delta, basically. And when I first moved to Mississippi, it was her and my dad who drove me down there to move into my house, and she was like, oh baby, this is the South, like this is what I'm used to. And I remember like my eyes were like bug-eyed because everything was, it felt like we were stuck in 1960 or something. Like everything was segregated. It was slow moving. There like weren't certain things that I was used to. Like I'm from Kansas City, and there's just like certain things I was used to that like weren't down there. The water was yellow. The highways weren't great. Like the roads were terrible. People were just like stuck in their way. But like the people in Mississippi are great and they love their universities, which is why, like I said, I have a problem with how Dion left Jackson State, because I think he helped elevate the SWAC and the MEAC, just like all of the HBCUs. Absolutely. And just to be like, okay, bye. Like that's what it felt like to me. It felt like he was just ditching them.
So you don't have to say this because you have a day job, but when I saw it, and I have a friend who I spent a lot of time with, who played years in the league for a really good team, one of the best teams when he was there. I saw it as selfish and self-centered, and because HBCUs were on the cusp of getting some attention they'd never gotten before since the Eddie Robinson days, right? An old friend of mine, Miles, he's 82. He was a scout for the Chicago Bears. Mr. Miles is 83 maybe. And he was a scout for the Bears he's 87. Thanks. A scout for the Bears in the 60s. And they would make trips down to Grambling. White scouts. Yeah. And he said some of the best players he ever saw came out of HBCUs.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, they start going to other schools and going to other places. And when I saw Dion go and take that job, I said, wow, this is going to be awesome, because maybe we can see this happen again. And unfortunately, that level of disappointment, I think it's probably, and then there are people like, well, Jackson State, they were stealing money and they didn't have good facilities. Right, because they didn't have any money.
I'm like, they don't have any money. Their
right,
facilities aren't that great.
It's and guess what else? Let me just say something.
Alabama or Florida.
Right, and I had to say this to a guy, a rich-ass black guy, okay, who went to one of these schools, and I'm like, how much you get your school last year? He's like, I ain't give him nothing. That's why,
well, there you
okay?
go.
Our friends over there give money. So y'all go, everybody I see at the classic got a FAMU jersey on and a Cookman hat and a FAMU hat and a Cookman jersey, and they out there barbecuing. And what'd you give your school last year? Nothing. But then you want to be mad because of the facilities are not up to par.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, if you go to Alabama get checks every year. Texas get checks every year.
Every week.
Mississippi, right. Mississippi State, they get checks constantly. Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
The Walton family,
They own Arkansas.
They own Arkansas. Now, the chicken people, too, now. Okay?
Oh, yeah, Tyson.
You got the Tysons and the Waltons. That's their facility, right? There are people who write checks just for this. This is put my name on that. I'll give you $50 million, right?
Yeah.
Come on. We have people that are successful, that have money.
I mean, there's a lot of successful. I'm just speaking of the SWAC because I've covered the SWAC for so long now. But there's a lot of successful
Right.
SWAC people or people who've gone to those schools, and
Right.
I don't understand why they can't give back either. Like, obviously there are those people, the alums, who do give back, but there are people who are millionaires who could write big checks and have their name up on a gymnasium or a football field, but I just feel like there needs to be. I'm glad we're having this conversation because I feel like there needs to be like a greater conversation about giving back to HBCUs and even sending our kids there. Like I've started talking to. I have a son, and I've started talking to him about like HBCUs. No, I didn't go. I grew up in Kansas City, so I wasn't like used to that. I guess the HBCU culture, and so I moved to North Carolina.
Right.
Like I knew about HBCUs, but I didn't know how many there were, the storied history, the pride that people had for those schools. And like looking back at it, I wish I had gone to HBCU over going to App State.
Right.
I wish I had gone to like North Carolina A&T
Right.
or to Winston-Salem State. I didn't get that opportunity, but I feel like everyone deserves to be around.
Well, you got to say South Carolina State. My buddy
South
is listening.
Carolina State.
South Carolina State. You got to say that.
Flatwood.
Osiris is listening. Yeah, he'll be like,
Yeah.
"Why you ain't mentioned South Carolina State?" Shout out to South Carolina State and Ernstburg.
Yeah, but there's so many to choose from, and what I've learned from the people who have gone to HBCUs, from my family members. So I had an ex-boyfriend. Just they like to be around their people, and there's different types of Black people. It's not just like you have maybe Black nerds and Black athletes like that you have like at the PWIs, but at HBCUs you have all different types of Black people, and you're like, oh, okay, I can like fit in with whichever group. But there definitely needs to be a conversation about like investing more in HBCUs.
You know what's interesting? If you go look at any of the Ivy League coaches, and I found this out the other day, I was talking to a friend of mine. The coach at the Ivy League schools, especially Brown, Princeton, Harvard, the coaching job is named after someone who's giving money to the school. So somebody's committed funding for a period of time, and the coaching job is the so-and-so coach, head coach position. And that's crazy to me. But again, we sit around and wear these damn jerseys, right?
Yeah.
We wear these jerseys. You go to the class, it's 100,000 Negroes and some of the best barbecue I ever had in my life. You been in the classic yet? You've been covering. Have you covered the classic yet?
Every year I cover it.
Okay. And we go to the classic and we have a great time. It really ain't a football game. It's a battle of the bands. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
When the bands lead, the people lead. And Phil, you been in the classic?
Hell no.
It's a good time.
I go to the car
great-
shows.
Huh?
I go to the car shows.
Yeah, I don't go. That's the hood. I don't go.
No, let me get a 64 Cadillac with 28-inch rims or a Nissan Altima with 30-inch rims.
But again, it's great camaraderie. It's a great time. But I wish that the commitment to the schools that you graduated from was like other people. And I'm talking about $20, $50, right?
I will say, after the whole Ed Reed situation at Bethune-Cookman, there were a lot of alum who donated, and they were able to get their practice field after that. Like, they broke ground for it. Yeah. So I think that embarrassment and kind of like lit a fire in the alums. So they were able to get a football field or a practice football field. Because I don't know if you've been to BCU or if you've like been up.
Me.
Yeah, their football field isn't even on their campus.
Okay, hold on. I'm very, very familiar with BCU
I'm sorry.
financially. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Please understand. And shout out to BCU. I go all the way back to some great the great story of Dr. Bethune. That's a great story, right? And
Yeah.
they've had some great leadership. Oswald P. Bronson was the longest sitting president at the school, but they've had people like Trudy Kibbe Reed and other people who came along. And my good friend who was just the chairman of the board, Belvin Perry, just recently, and Dr. Brent Crite, who was the president for a short period of time. So I know BCU very well. And
Well, as you know, the football team had to travel about 10 minutes down the road to go to football practices. 'Cause
absolutely,
yeah, so the
which
fact that
was
they have a practice,
nonsense.
it is nonsense. Like
Right.
being bused
Right, yeah,
down
yeah, right.
the Daytona International Speedway Boulevard, down
Right.
the road 10, 15 minutes, and that's where you practice. That's insane. But the alumni did give back, and I
Well,
think
the
there was,
alumni got embarrassed, I think, and it
yeah,
shouldn't have had to come to that.
it shouldn't have.
No, it shouldn't have come to that. You know, it's amazing, but I just want to see everybody understand that we have to do better. And it is amazing in our community how we immediately shift when there's no need to shift to the race car. Deion's son, if you call it collusion, call it collusion. I don't believe it was collusion. I believe that there are a lot of people in the league that didn't want to draft Deion Sanders. Okay. And that's who you would have drafted. Let's be clear,
Yeah.
right? You draft his son, you draft Deion. And now remember, Shedeur didn't sign with an agent until maybe Saturday when they announced he had an agent. If you go look at the papers before that, the documentation, he did not have an agent of record, but he signed with Drew Rosenhaus, who I think is a solid dude, one of the best of all time. And Drew Rosenhaus, I think if there's anybody can get him to understand how this is Drew Rosenhaus. He's represented a lot of my friends, including my boy who texted me. Shout out Warren Sapp. Love you, big man. Who's also at Colorado. Big Sapp, he coming to town. Well, I'll see you when you get here, man, because Sapp wear your ass down. But I love you. I love Sapp. That's my friend for life. He's at Colorado with Deion. The thing about it is this. I just want to see this kid do well.
Yeah.
And I want him to understand what happens. And you were in Cleveland, Ohio. Cleveland is known not for football. Cleveland is known as the mistake by the lake.
Yeah.
It is, in my grandmama's words, a shithole. And my grandma was Church of God in Christ, didn't cuss.
I'm not gonna. I have friends from that area, so I'm not gonna laugh.
Huh? You ain't gonna laugh?
No,
But
I
I'm
have
sure they
friends that are
told
from
you.
like Akron in that area. They love it, so I'm not gonna.
Oh, it's good in summertime.
It's a Midwest city, a Midwestern city. You know, you're from what, Chicago?
Yeah, absolutely. But I
I'm
just
from
hope the
Kansas
young
City,
man
sorry.
can, I hope he can get there, get settled in, and understand what the locker room, an NFL locker room looks like, how you move in an NFL locker room, because he's going to get hazed. He's going to carry some bags. I just hope he don't push back on that because that's going to be a difficult process. You know, I've known a lot of guys, no matter how high you got drafted, the veterans going to come at you.
Yeah.
Okay? And I think just settle in and enjoy it and kind of, I think it's time for him to separate and be his own man. And we'll see what happens. But I want to ask you this question. So the night of the draft, and there's a video, I want to play this video, Phil, of Shedeur. What were your thoughts? I don't know if you saw this, but check this out.
Shedeur Sanders ditched the disappointment of being selected in the 5th round of the 2025 NFL Draft by hitting the nightclub on Sunday. The new Cleveland Browns quarterback was seen partying with a suitcase full of cash and an expensive Louis Vuitton bag. Sanders' slide was monumental. Analysts, draft gurus, and everyone who wants...
Phil, so who goes to the club with a suitcase full of money? I don't know what kind of club it was, but who goes to the club with a suitcase full of money? Louis Vuitton.
A kid who grew up with a lot of money. He's used to that. He's not new to this.
I know, but
Yeah.
huh?
It's a bad look. I want him to succeed. I feel like he needs to mature and he just needs to lay low. Like I do want him to succeed though.
But I want him to succeed, but I want him to quickly realize that you're not bigger than this league. And there are guys that are going to come at him like he is. Look, first of all, let me ask you a question. Huh?
I said because of who he is and because of who his dad is.
Okay, now let me ask you a question. You're a sports person. You are a real sports. You cover sports. You cover the SEC. You covered all the black colleges. And this is a question I've been asking people. So this wasn't on the show notes. I didn't even read the damn show notes. If Shedeur Sanders played in the SEC, would he have amassed those numbers?
Ooh.
Come on, day in, day out. Florida, Georgia, Tennessee, Mississippi State, South Carolina. Huh?
The defense in the SEC, no.
No. Right? Tell me if I'm wrong.
I don't think he would have, but
So Cam Ward, would Cam Ward has still been a good quarterback in the SEC?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm trying to get people to understand, right? I want him to succeed, but humility is, man, look, I grew up in the hood around some pimps, and I got I don't like to acknowledge I knew some pimps, but I knew some pimps. Anyway, but the Nuggets, right? The Nuggets are brilliant, and they go across the board in terms of real life, right? When you look at humility, it changes the game. And I just hope this young man, what has happened to him, because if that was me, man, I'd be like, man, I'm going to just go to, when can I start practicing tomorrow? I just want to get this all behind me and get focused.
I will say we're in a different age right now, and he's not the only kid acting like this. He just has a bigger platform. But if I were him, I would lay low. I don't think he's a bad kid. You've never heard like really any.
No,
bad
he's probably not. I don't believe that. No, I think he's a good kid.
I just think he needs to mature, and I think he, like I said, needs to lay low. Maybe stay off his social media for a while. But I think he will learn from this situation, hopefully, and like I said, just be successful. I really want him to be successful in the NFL, wherever that is. You know, Dylan Gabriel was drafted before him,
which is nonsense.
Yeah, so he's the fourth quarterback in that room. So I don't really know.
Dylan Gabriel being drafted before this kid is ridiculous. Let's be clear.
Yeah.
Dylan Gabriel, how old is he? 36, 40? You know what I mean?
He started his career at UCF down here in Orlando.
He was a quarterback on the undefeated championship team at UCF. Quasi. Wasn't he? Was he the Phil, was he the quarterback on the
He's not that old. No, he was when I first got down here to Orlando, that was I think his first year here. And then he went to Oklahoma and then he went to Oregon. So he's bounced around.
He was at UCF like 19, 20. When did you get here?
I think so. He's older.
Yeah, he's a grown-ass man. But I tell you, the other person, a grown-ass man, is the other dude who got drafted, right? When another quarterback. One of them like 20-something. Yeah, again, I think there's only one person, maybe two, should have gone. This kid should not have gone as late as he went.
He should
But sometimes these type of challenges can get you focused and send you in a different direction. But I want to thank you so much, ma'am, for coming on here. You didn't know what you was coming into, but
I didn't.
You was like, I ain't scared.
I wasn't scared, but I was a little apprehensive. I'm like, what's this about to be?
No, I wouldn't. Hey, listen, I got some good references, as you know. Yeah, but you know, I want to ask you a couple more questions. The group of people in Orlando have put together enough money to bring baseball to Orlando. Have you covered that?
I have not covered that story specifically, but they had like a reporter on that. But that I don't know if baseball will work in Orlando personally.
The Orlando Dream, Phil, they got $1 billion+ dollars to bring baseball team to Orlando. So,
why wouldn't you think that it would work?
I mean, people don't even support the Magic. Like,
you said that, I didn't, but you're right.
No, like I've
Puerto Ricans don't like basketball as much.
I've lived here now for 4 years, and every time I go to a game, if you go to a Lakers game or they're playing the Lakers or just
everybody's got a Laker jersey on.
Yeah, everyone's cheering when LeBron makes the dunk, or when what's his name, Anthony Edwards and
Right.
the Timberwolves come to town.
Right.
Everyone's like, "Ooh!" When Anthony Edwards does something. Even during the playoffs just now, when
Right.
the Celtics were in town, everyone was cheering. Like half the arena had Celtics jerseys on. They had Jason Tatum jerseys on.
Wait,
Jaylen
and
Brown
even when,
jerseys.
especially when the Knicks come, right?
I don't know about that.
No, but everybody down is from New York, okay? Especially the Puerto Rican
True,
community.
true.
Yeah.
Philly, Boston, New York. A lot of fans down here. I personally don't know how an MLB team would work in Orlando, because if you can't even get support for the Magic, like in the state, like in the arena there, how are you going to fill a baseball stadium?
I think that's a great point. And especially when in the summertime in July, who gonna sit out there?
No one. It's too hot.
Nobody. Okay? And they're gonna find that out. They're gonna find that out in Tampa in July because they playing outside for the first time ever. Okay?
Yeah.
And that ain't gonna end good. It's hot. It's gonna be I ain't ready. Ain't no women going because you're gonna sweat your hair out for sure. I got another question for you. So the Magic has not won a playoff series since 2010,
It's been a while.
right? Mm-hmm. And they've hired this coach, 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
It's been 4 years. 4 years ago.
Should they be looking at finding somebody else?
No.
Wow.
I was actually just at their exit interview, their media availability today. I feel like he has the team heading in the right direction. Like
You know how many times I've heard that?
It's
Okay,
cliche,
I came
know.
here January 6, 1990. To me, okay, I came here with. I'm very familiar with the Orlando Magic. Let's put it like that.
Yeah, well, they had a lot of injuries this season. If you think about
Mm-hmm.
how the Magic started the season, they were one of the best teams in the Eastern Conference until Paolo got hurt. He had that oblique injury. He was out
Mm-hmm.
until he got hurt in October. He was out until like January.
Okay.
He was gone a long time. Then Franz got hurt, their number 2 guy. He was out for like a month and a half. He had an oblique injury. Jalen Suggs, he didn't play in the playoffs. He was out indefinitely. I forgot what was wrong with him, but he got injured. He's like, it's Jalen, Paolo, and Franz. You had their 3 main guys only played for a total, I think, 97 minutes across 6 games this whole season.
Okay. Now let me ask you a question. So you say they come back next year healthy, they can do great things?
Yeah, I
Cut
believe
it
so.
out. You cut it out.
Well, Jeff Weltman today, the president of basketball operations, he talked about how
And he's a good guy. He's a good guy.
he's a good guy. I really
Yep.
like the Magic organization. They're polite. They're respectful to
Yes.
media, which isn't always the case with professional sports teams. But Jeff Weltman, he was talking about how they're ready to win now. Like they're done with saying like, oh, like we're happy we made it to the playoffs. We're one and done basically in the playoffs. Like they actually want to win. And to me, it sounds like they're going to be making some moves to trade
This
for
summer.
players. They need a shooter.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to happen, and we'll see. Like I don't
We'll
think
see.
they'll have a first round exit next
Okay,
year.
well, that's good to hear. That's real good to hear, and I know Alex Martins is over there trying to figure it out. Shout out to Al Martins. Y'all call him Alex. I call him Al. Got another question. LeBron James last night, Lakers
Yeah.
went on back to the house. When LeBron gonna go and take it in with his little boy? Him and his little boy need to go home. That little boy can't play in the league. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Don't.
That little boy can't play in the league. You a basketball fan like I am. That little boy is
I'm
a
not
nice
saying
kid.
anything about his son. Don't get me caught up in that.
I know I ain't gonna do that to you. But that little boy rich. If I'm rich, I'm gonna be like, yeah, Dad, I'm gonna go home to the crib.
He loves basketball though. Like I don't
Yeah.
see anything wrong with him trying.
And I know,
And
I agree with you.
LeBron, he's still playing at a high level. So
Yeah, he
I
is.
personally feel like if I was Savannah, if I was his wife, I would have asked him to retire like 5-6 years ago.
You don't think she did? You don't think she already said when you gonna quit? Right?
How old is LeBron? Like 41 or is he 42?
He old.
40.
He
He's
40.
in his 40s.
But you're right. He's still playing at a very high level. It seems like he loves the game, and I respect that. I just, when I watch basketball, and I'm an old school basketball guy, way old school basketball. I spent a long time in basketball, and I watch this, and I think the league probably wants LeBron to go, so that you follow what I'm saying?
They're definitely pushing other players, I've noticed, because for so long LeBron was the face of the league, and now it's like you have. I'm gonna mention Anthony Edwards again. I feel like they're trying to push him out there. He's had some off the court issues with, with his children.
You do not want to push
fathering.
Anthony Edwards out there. You're gonna find somebody
Fathering-
else.
Yeah, but I feel like they were trying to push him to be the face of the league now. He's young. He's
Yeah.
charismatic. He's very like someone like he's very interesting to watch his interviews. So I feel like they're trying to push these younger players now. Even Paolo, for the Magic, but I feel
like
it is-
him a lot.
I like him too.
Yeah.
He's great. He's always gives like decent sound bites. He's respectful. He's a great player. Like he's a great player. He just needs some help. I really feel like if the Magic can like just get someone who can consistently shoot the ball, like it won't always be on him. Like he always looks exhausted at the end of the games because he's doing like the heavy lifting.
He's
for
doing
the team.
everything.
Him and Franz.
He come to the game with a backpack full of players. He's carrying them.
He's carrying the whole.
He got everybody in the backpack. Come on, y'all.
I
We're running
know.
up and down the floor. What about, real quick, before we get out of here, we're running short on time. Real quick, the trade from the Dallas Mavericks to the Lakers when they sent dude over there for dude, right?
Luca.
I know what I'm saying. Let me tell you something, man. Luka can't guard he can't guard me. Does he play defense at all? Or is his offense so wonderful? Was that a good deal?
I think some players are offensively minded and some players are defensively minded, and I feel like he leans more towards.
In today's
offense.
league.
Yeah.
Go back in the old days. You
I
had to
know.
play some defense.
I honestly feel like Steph Curry kind of changed the way that people play
Yeah.
basketball because he was chucking up threes, making threes.
He hurt the league. You don't want to say it. He hurt the league. Steph hurt the league. Steph the reason why I turned the TV off. I ain't going to even lie. Nobody gets
will
back
say-
on defense.
He's the single most influential player, I think, in the past 2 decades with how basketball is played. You go to a high school basketball game in Orlando at Lake Mary, at Edgewater, you got kids coming up to the half-court line, chucking up long threes because of him.
Right.
You hate to see it, but that's just how I feel like the NBA is like offensively minded right now. So
I think the league's going to make some changes in the meetings this summer because nobody's watching it, and
Yeah.
they got to figure that out. But again, thank you so much. I know we got off track of the conversation we wanted to have, but when we got a great sports figure like yourself on the show, I got to ask you all these questions I don't know nobody else to ask. But thank you so much. We really, Jessica Ely, man, we really appreciate you, ma'am. They can follow you put that up there. Y'all can watch her. That's how you follow her. She's on Fox 35 in Orlando every night. She's always out there with microphones, interviewing great talent. Oh, you ever go to a soccer game?
I do.
Okay.
I go to Orlando City in Pride matches.
Okay, really? All right, because I have no idea what they're doing, but maybe I'm going to learn one day. Because
The Pride just won the NWSL championship last year.
I know. So we got to check that out. We might have to go to a Pride game, and I sit with some people who can explain to me in English what's happening. I went to one game, and I was just like, I don't know. Maybe I'll just keep
Barbara
drinking.
Banda is their best player.
Yes. Yes.
Rubber
African.
Banda?
I think she's from Zimbabwe.
Yes.
Her
yes.
name is Rubber
Yeah.
Band?
Yeah, Barbara Banda.
Oh,
like,
Barbara. Oh, okay.
like Rubber Band Man. Yeah.
Oh, that's it. Okay, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jessica. We appreciate you. Again, thank you for joining us. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. You know what's funny, Phil?
What's that?
Man, that was a good interview.
Yeah, she was great.
That's good. She's really talented, man, and I've been watching her and thought she was really talented. Again, shout out to Morgan Parrish, who was like, "Hey, I got somebody you can talk to about this," and it was her, wonderful young lady, great newscaster, great anchor. We got to check her out on TV. Again, thank you so much, everybody. You have been tuned in to the Don Miller Show, Thursday nights, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Follow us on all platforms. Subscribe and like. Tell your friends. And I don't know where y'all going, but I'm taking my ass to the house. Bye-bye, everybody.
From the heart of Chicago to his name up in lights, Don Miller is live every Thursday night. He's bold. no filters, no shade. When hits the mic, the truth gets laid. Dawn's in the building, his swag so tight. Check your feelings, he's exposing all the lies. Every Thursday at 8, his voice takes the stage. The